The early 1900s saw the birth of a lot of superheroes. Boys from that time could look up to the likes of Boy Wonder, Zorro, Superman, and Zatara, but girls had to wait until 1940 when the first female superhero, Phantoma, appeared in the second issue of Jungle Comics. Things have changed a lot since the debut of the Mystery Woman of the Jungle, and now there are many badass female characters who aren't just damsels in distress, but are heroes people look up to. Especially in the Marvel comic universe, there are unique and well-developed female characters. Today, let's explore 24 of the most powerful and badass female X-Men characters. Before we begin though, we have a very small request. Please subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a marvelous update. It's a small step for you, but it really helps us to bring you the best nerdy content. So, thanks for listening and let's begin. Emma Frost. While watching the 1960s British spy show The Avengers, writer Chris Claremont was hit with a bolt of inspiration. He decided to create a Hellfire Club for the X-Men comics he was working for, based on the criminal underground society the spies were investigating in the show. He was particularly inspired by Emma Peel, a character played by Diana Rigg who wore a corset and boots. He created the character of Emma Frost based on Emma Peel with artist John Byrne. In January 1980, Emma Frost debuted in the 129th issue of the Uncanny X-Men as a powerful mutant telepath. Emma Grace Frost was the third child of Winston and Hazel Frost. Winston was a rich businessman, but he set unreasonably high expectations for his children and abused them when they didn't live up to them. Around puberty, Emma began to develop her telepathic powers. She was constantly bullied in her school, and she didn't have any emotional support at home. This eventually led to a mental breakdown where, thanks to her uncontrolled powers, she knocked out everyone in her school. Eventually, she left home and drifted before getting admission at Empire State University. By this time, she had also discovered that she could transform herself into a hard diamond-like state. Emma finally got her first mentor in the form of her fellow classmate and telepath Astrid Bloom. But Astrid was very manipulative and Emma knocked her out before leaving. She was then invited to the Hellfire Club, which she accepted, eventually becoming their White Queen. Emma Frost isn't just a telepath, but a business mastermind, as she single-handedly built Frost International, Fortune 500 corporation. Though she constantly fought with Xavier and his students, she eventually joined hands with him when her students, the Hellions, were killed. Her love for teaching led her to become the co-head mistress at Xavier's school. She was a prominent figure during the Krakoa era as well, helping the mutant nation's commercial interests through her businesses. Finola Hughes, January Jones, and Tanya Tozzi have all portrayed this blue-eyed telepath. Rogue! Anna Marie LeBeau has the unique ability to absorb the energy of others just by touching them. She can see and use their memories, powers, and skills, and exhaust them just by touching them. She is the creation of writer Chris Claremont and Michael Golden. She first appeared in 1981 in the 10th issue of Avengers Annual. Born to hippie parents, Anna Marie's father, Owen, left her in the care of her aunt, Carrie, after her mom, Priscilla, went missing. Anna Marie was a rebellious child and ran away from her strict aunt. She adopted the name Rogue as a runaway. During these days, she grew romantically close with Cody Robbins, a boy around her age. Overcome by passion, she kissed him, but her powers sent him into a coma. This incident terrified her, and she began to wear concealing clothes to ensure that she never accidentally touched anyone again. Soon, Mystique and Destiny adopted her, playing on her sense of loneliness. Though Mystique empathized with Rogue being a loner, their intent was to train her into a mutant terrorist for the Brotherhood of Mutants. Sometime later, she bumped into Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, and absorbed her powers and memories permanently. This caused a lot of psychological distress, and Rogue approached Professor X. The X-Men welcomed her with open arms, and she joined their ranks. She purged Miss Marvel from her psyche and married her teammate Gambit. Currently, she runs Haven House with her husband, a sanctuary that offers young mutants shelter and guidance. Rogue was portrayed by Anna Paquin in the live-action X-Men film series. Psylocke. A powerful psychic, Betsy was the daughter of Sir James Braddock, an extra-dimensional being from Otherworld. Her twin brother, Brian, is Captain Britain, and she helped him as an ally. She even took on the identity of Captain Britain when her brother was corrupted by the evil sorceress Morgan Le Fay. She was forced to step down when Slaymaster blinded her. The alien Mojo kidnapped her with Spiral and gave her artificial eyes, but she was forced to lure children for his team, the Brat Pack. Thankfully, the X-Men rescued her and she joined their force. Vargas, the perfect human villain, killed her, but she was resurrected by her older brother Jamie. Perhaps Psylocke's most important storyline was when she was body-swapped with Quanon, an Asian ninja assassin, which gave Psylocke her traditional look for the 90s. However, they were eventually returned to their own respective bodies. She was also in a relationship with Rachel Summers and is an active member of X-Force. Created by Chris Claremont and Herb Trimpe, Betsy Braddock first appeared in the second issue of the New Mutants Annual in October 1986. Her live-action debut was in the 2016 movie X-Men Apocalypse, played by Olivia Munn. Jean Grey. Jean Grey is a powerful, empathetic telepath, and she first felt her power at the tender age of 10 when she witnessed the death of her friend Annie in a car accident. Her psionic abilities were so powerful that she began to isolate herself in the fear of losing her sanity. Her parents took her to Professor X, not knowing that she was a mutant. This was the best decision they could have made, as Xavier put up psychic barriers in her mind to ward off her power until she grew older and capable enough to handle it. He also mentored her, and she played a huge role in using Cerebrum, a device that amplifies telepaths to find mutants. She was part of his first batch of classmates and the original X-Men. This is where she met Scott Summers, or Cyclops, with whom she would later tie the knot. The Phoenix Force, the oldest known cosmic entity, would find Jean when Annie's soul had bound itself to her and dragged her to the afterlife. The Force saved her and maintained tabs on her. In Krakoa, she was both a part of the Quiet Council and X-Force. After she was killed by Orcus, she was resurrected as Phoenix with the help of the White Hot Room. With her godlike powers, Jean travels across the cosmos helping those in need. Jean Elaine Grey Summers was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby for the first issue of the X-Men, which was published in September 1963. Famke Janssen and Sophie Turner have played this telepath in the movies. Storm. Nader, the princess of a Kenyan tribe, came from a long line of African priestesses with magical powers, white hair, and blue eyes. She moved to Harlem after falling in love with David Monroe, an American. Tired of the racism in America, the couple left for Cairo a few months after their daughter Aurora was born. When Aurora was just 6, a plane crash destroyed their house and killed her parents. The rubble of the disaster induced severe claustrophobia. She was taken in by a group of street urchins and excelled as a thief. Her powers began to manifest as she traveled around Africa, and in the Serengeti Plans of Tanzania, the Maasai called her the prophesized goddess Aurora. She accepted the role and wielded the weather to help. When the X-Men were captured by Krakoa, the sentient island, Professor X reached out to Aurora for her help and educated her about mutants. Realizing that she too was a mutant, she joined the X-Men with the codename Storm. Storm has participated in many missions as an X-Men and has even been a part of the Avengers. Aurora Monroe was created by Dave Cockrum and Len Wein for the first issue of Giant Size X-Men in 1975. Halle Berry and Alexandra Shipp have played Storm in the X-Men movies. Scarlet Witch. Alright, before you get all up in arms, let us assure you, we know she's not currently a mutant, but that wasn't always the case, and she's appeared in many X-Men comics, and it wouldn't be a stretch to consider her an X-Men character. Wanda Maximoff and her twin, Pietro, were born to Natalia Maximoff, a Romani witch. The High Evolutionary, a man obsessed with experimenting on kids he believes have the potential to be superheroes, tracks them down and takes them to Wundagore Mountain. The mountain also happens to be the prison of Chthon, a demon lord of chaos. Chthon gave Wanda his mystical energy to later use her as a host. The evolutionaries' experiments disguise their genomes to make them look like that of a mutant's. Natalia's heroism in trying to save her children gets her killed, but impresses the evolutionary enough to free the twins. While looking for sanctuary, Wanda's powers attracted attention from the local people who accused her of witchcraft. Magneto intervened and rescued the twins in exchange for their involvement in his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The twins later defected to the Avengers when they didn't agree with his ruthlessness. She took the name Scarlet Witch as it was one of the accusations people had shouted at her in her youth. Wanda trained her witchcraft under Agatha Harkness to become one of the most powerful witches in the world. Her relationship with Vision was a stabilizing force in her life, so much so that she completely lost it when his personality was wiped out by the government. She attacked the Avengers and reshaped reality, killing Hawkeye and bringing her imaginary twin sons to life. But once she regained her grip on reality, she sought redemption. Nowadays, she runs the witch shop Emporium and is an active active Avengers member. Created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Scarlet Witch first appeared in March 1964 in the 4th issue of X-Men. She's played by Elizabeth Olsen in the MCU. Step away! Mystique. Though we don't know much about Raven Darkholme or Mystique's childhood, we know she had it rough. Around the 19th century, she took the role of a consulting detective in the guise of a normal man and met Irene Adler, a clairvoyant who requested her help in deciphering something that had been shown to her. Soon, she developed a romantic relationship with Irene and showed Irene her true form. That did not deter Irene, and they soon married. Though they love each other, they often do their own thing and have an on-again, off-again relationship. Together, they reformed the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants to assassinate Senator Robert Kelly, a notoriously anti-mutant politician. The X-Men prevented it. She has had multiple affairs with mutants, including Sabretooth, Deadpool, Azazel, and Wolverine. If you hadn't guessed already, Mystique is a skilled combatant and has the ability to take any form she chooses. Her base form is blue-skinned and red hair. Mystique and Destiny are Nightcrawler's biological parents, and she's also the adoptive mother of Rogue. Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum are the brains behind the creation of Raven Darkholme. She first appeared in the 16th issue of Miss Marvel in 1978 and has been portrayed by Jennifer Lawrence and Rebecca Romijn in the live-action films.
You're not the only one who can control mine.
Selene. 17,000 years ago, just after Atlantis submerged into the ocean, Selene Gallio was born. She's a psychic vampire who has the ability to drain the life force from people, and she's a skilled sorceress. Her only weakness is that she needs to regularly feed on human life force. When she was born, the elders in her tribe recognized her power and ordered everyone to sacrifice themselves to feed her. Her nemesis is the sorcerer Kulan Gath. She was worshipped as a goddess in Nova Roma. She bullied her way into the Hellfire Club and became their Black Queen. Her last name, Gallio, comes from her husband, Marcus Gallio, a senator of Nova Roma whom she seduced to have political sway. Selene's ultimate goal is to conquer the world, and she does everything she can to achieve it. Tired of her constant attempts to enslave mutants, the X-Corps defeated her and placed her in a stasis chamber where she lives in a dream state where she thinks she won. Called one of the first mutants ever recorded, Selene was created by artist Sal Buscema and writer Chris Claremont. Her live-action debut was in the 2019 movie X-Men Dark Phoenix, where she was portrayed by Coda Eberhardt.
Go.
Polaris. Arnold Dane had the perfect family, or at least that's what he thought. He soon realized that his baby daughter Lorna wasn't biologically his, that his wife Susanna had stepped out of their marriage with Magneto. Arnold took Susanna and Lorna on a plane and confronted them far above the earth. Lorna was so affected by the argument that her powers manifested and she emitted a powerful magnetic pulse that shattered the plane. Only Lorna would survive that plane crash, but her hair would turn completely green. Magneto found the infant, erased the memory of her power with the help of Mastermind, and placed her in the care of Arnold's sister. She rediscovered her powers 20 years later, and Mesmero manipulated her into working against the X-Men. They rescued her from Mesmero, and Lorna decided that the life of a superhero wasn't for her, opting instead to study geophysics. Ultimately, life had other plans for her, and she was constantly dragged into missions thanks to her father being a mutant most wanted. She was also instrumental in taking down Orcus. Her most prominent romantic interest is her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Alex Summers, or Havoc. Dr. Lorna Sally Dane was created by Arnold Drake and Jim Steranko. Her first appearance was marked by the 49th issue of X-Men in October 1968. She was portrayed by Emma Dumont in the 2018 show The Gift. Madelyne Pryor. Mr. Sinister wanted to kill Apocalypse at any cost to get his revenge. His calculations revealed that the most powerful mutant would be born from the union of Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Since Jean Grey at this point had become the Phoenix, he created a clone, Madelyne Pryor, who unfortunately didn't show the powers of Jean. When Dark Phoenix killed herself on the moon, the Phoenix Force gave a spark of its power to Madelyne, along with some of Jean's memories. Mr. Sinister also orchestrated Madelyne's chance encounter with Scott in Alaska. Their whirlwind romance reached its peak with their marriage and the birth of their son, Nathan Summers, also known as Cable. But Scott's love of Jean Grey and the truth about her existence soon unraveled Madelyne. It also didn't help that Jean returned and Scott went back to her. She felt ignored by the X-Men and decided to take her revenge by striking a deal with Sim and Nastir. She used her powers of demonic magic to become the Goblin Queen, waged wars against the X-Men and X-Factor. She too has a tumultuous romantic relationship with Alex Summers. Telekinesis, telepathy, and demonic abilities are not the only powers Madelyne has, as she's a highly skilled pilot as well. She was brought into existence by Paul Smith and Chris Claremont for the first time in the 168th issue of Uncanny X-Men in 1983. Jubilee. Jubilation Lee was born in Beverly Hills, California to Hong Kong immigrants. She discovered her powers one day while she was running away from mall security, and she emitted a large energy blast that distracted the guards enough for her to escape. This was just the beginning, however, as Jubilee's powers are to emit light energy blasts akin to fireworks. After her parents died, she resorted to shoplifting until she was impressed by some X-Men and followed them to their Australian base. There, she hid without anyone's knowledge. One day, the Reavers attacked the base and Jubilee had to stop hiding. She rescued Wolverine and her bravery landed her a seat at the X-Men table. Jubilee was one of the victims who lost their powers during M-Day, and to add to her misery, Xeris turned her into a vampire, but the X-Men saved her and cured her vampirism. She became a mentor in the Xavier Institute, and one of her students, Quentin Quire, reinstated her mutant powers. She was killed during the Orcus attack on Krakoa, but was brought back by the White Hot Room. Jubilee was created in May 1989 by Chris Claremont and Mark Silvestri. Her first comic book appearance was in the 244th issue of the Uncanny X-Men. Katrina Florence, Kia Wong, and Lena Condor have played Jubilee in the movies. X-23. The facility wanted to create another Wolverine, but their experiments kept failing thanks to a damaged Y chromosome in the genetic material. So, geneticist Sarah Kinney mixed her own DNA, created a successful female Wolverine, X-23, who was forged into a weapon in the facility by brutal training. Sarah Kinney saw this clone as her daughter and was unable to watch her suffer, so she helped her escape and named her Laura. Laura tracked Wolverine down and he had her enroll in the Xavier Institute. Laura accepted Wolverine as her father and became a respected X-Man. She even adopted the codename Wolverine after Logan's death. While investigating the Children of the Vault, Laura didn't return and was presumed dead. Only after Krakoa's cloning process brought back her duplicate was it revealed that Laura was still alive. She had lived thousands of years inside the vault, changed quite a bit, and took on the codename Talon, allowing her to coexist peacefully with her duplicate. This was short-lived. Talon was one of the mutants killed in the Orcus attack on Krakoa. That said, her clone still goes by the name Wolverine, and she's a well-liked superhero who saves mutants and fights evil. Created by Christopher Yost and Craig Kyle, Laura Kinney first appeared in the animated show X-Men Evolution in 2003. She's played by Daphne Keane in the MCU. Kitty Pryde. Catherine Kitty Pryde has the uncanny ability of phasing, which helps her move through walls in solid matter. She was headhunted by both Emma Frost and the X-Men. After realizing that Frost was a cruel woman, she joined the X-Men and took on the codename Sprite. She was a founding member of the group Excalibur, a British group of mutants created to honor the legacy of Charles Xavier, but that doesn't mean that she completely forgot about the X-Men. She stayed in contact and even became the head mistress of the Xavier Institute at one point. When Krakoa was established as a mutant nation, she was hired by the White Queen to lead the Marauders, a rebel group of raiders who rescued mutant refugees. After the attack by Orcus, she renamed herself Shadowcat, a name she had previously used, as she was forced to take on brutal measures to exact revenge and didn't rest until Orcus was completely decimated. She then retired in Chicago. This mutant has a power level of 7 and was created in 1980 by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. She was played by Katie Stewart, Sumela Kay, and Elliot Page in the movies. Domino! Program Armageddon was started with a simple goal: develop the world's perfect weapon. The only test subject to survive this super soldier program was Domino. Her power is psychic probability manipulation, which means that she'll always have good luck in a fight. The program, however, didn't consider her luck to be enough of a superpower and rejected her. Her biological mother freed her, and she grew up as Nina Thurman in Chicago. She became a mercenary and joined Six Pack, a group of mercs led by Cable. Mr. Tolliver, an arms dealer, kidnapped Domino and had her replaced with Copycat to spy on Cable. Cable rescued her nearly a year later and urged her to join X-Force. After the establishment of Krakoa, she investigated many anti-mutant businesses for Professor X. This deadly assassin was created by Fabian Nicieza and Rob Liefeld for the 8th issue of X-Force in 1992. Zazie Beetz portrayed her in Deadpool 2. The younger sister of Colossus, Illyana Nikolaevna Rasputin, was kidnapped by Belasco the Demon and taken into Limbo, a demonic realm, when she was just 6 years old. Though only a few seconds passed on Earth, years passed in Limbo, where she mastered the dark arts. Eventually, her mutant ability of teleporting manifested and she escaped Limbo. Reuniting with the X-Men, she became one of the new mutants under the mentorship of Professor Xavier. With the codename Magic, with a K, Illyana participated in many adventures with her fellow mutants, masking her PTSD and loneliness with a mischievous attitude. Unfortunately, the deadly legacy virus killed her. Belasco, though, resurrected her without a soul, and she pushed the new mutants to find her soul. After she got hold of her soul once more, it became the deadly Soul Blade. Illyana was trained by Doctor Strange in the mystical arts. On Krakoa, she was appointed as one of the great captains and overlooked the training of mutants. She also shared her knowledge of magic at Strange Academy. Illyana Rasputin debuted in the first issue of Giant Size X-Men in 1975 and was the brainchild of Len Wein and Dave Cockrum. Her magic persona was created by Chris Claremont and Sal Buscema in 1983. Dazzler! Alison Blair is a mutant with the ability to convert sound vibrations to light and energy beams. She first manifested her powers at a high school dance, which was brushed off by her classmates as scheduled special effects. Her ambition was to be a famous disco queen, which was interrupted when the Hellfire Club members attacked the X-Men who were visiting her show. She helped the X-Men but turned down their offer as she didn't like the fighting. But after her career ambitions kept getting interrupted by supervillains, she eventually joined them. She fell in love with the otherworldly Longshot and, with him, waged a war against Mojo, the tyrant who ruled Longshot's world. Dazzler assisted the X-Men in many of their quests, even when Krakoa was established. This blonde pop star was developed as a cross-promotional multimedia creation between Marvel Comics and Casablanca Records in 1980. However, creators Tom DeFalco and John Romita Jr. were from the Marvel staff. Alston Sage portrayed her in a cameo in X-Men Dark Phoenix. Rachel Summers! Rachel Summers was the daughter of Jean Grey and Scott Summers, basically the X-Men's first family. In a distant, dystopic future, Rachel inherited her mother's psychic ability and was a bright student at the Xavier Institute. Things took a turn for the worse when the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants assassinated an anti-mutant senator, and there was outrage against the mutants. Mutants were hunted down and slaughtered. Rachel was caught, tortured, and brainwashed into helping her captors find more mutants. The cosmic entity Phoenix gave her another opportunity at life and brought her to the past where she joined the X-Men. She played a key role in establishing Excalibur and honored her mother by taking on the persona of Marvel. She keeps getting thrown into different timelines and she emerges victorious in all of them. Like the time she became Mother Escani to battle her brother's tyrannical rule. She also pulls a lot of power from her relationship with the Phoenix Force. Chris Claremont, John Byrne, and John Romita Jr. created this red-haired telepath in 1981 when she first appeared in the 141st issue of the Uncanny X-Men. Firestar! When Angelica Jones first began to show her mutant powers of tapping into Earth's electromagnetic field and wielding it, she was being raised by a single father, Bartholomew, but her powers were picked up by both Emma Frost and Charles Xavier. Frost, who was publicly the headmistress of the Massachusetts Academy, convinced her father to enroll her there, began manipulating and grooming her to be an assassin. It was she who gave her the name Firestar. Xavier, too, offered a seat at his institute, but it was too late, and she had developed a sense of loyalty to the White Queen. Frost assigned Hellfire mercenary Randall Chase to be her bodyguard. Chase grew close to Angelica and warned her about Frost's nefarious plans. She left the institute and went to live with her father, but that doesn't mean she completely turned her back on life as a superhero, as she joined the New Warriors and fought alongside the Avengers. She was a prominent figure during the Krakoa era, and on instruction from Jean Grey, infiltrated Orchis and fought valiantly against them. Unlike most characters on this list, Firestar didn't debut in a comic book, but in the animated TV series Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. She, Iceman, and Spider-Man would team up to save the day from a variety of villains. Created by John Romita Sr., Rick Hoberg, and Dennis Marks, this red-haired superhero was introduced to the world in 1981. M. Monet St. Croix was her father's favorite child. Though her siblings, Marius, Claudette, and Nicole, were envious, they just had to make do. All of the siblings turned out to be mutants, though, and when Marius began to have hunger pangs for the genetic material of human beings, he accidentally killed his mom. Marius was kicked out and he worked on increasing his power. Years later, he asked Monet to join him so they could take over the world together. When Monet said no, he trapped her in a sharp diamond-like mute body called Penance. He told her that only he could turn her back and she was forced to be his slave. After she broke free from her brother's clutches, she joined Xavier's school and worked towards the benefit of mutant kind. Monet has a wide array of powers ranging from telepathy and telekinesis to flight and superhuman strength, along with an enhanced constitution and night vision. Though she has a tragic origin story, M is one of the most slept-on X-Men characters. She's a multi-powered heroine created by Scott Lobdell and Chris Bacallo in 1994. Siryn! Teresa Cassidy is the daughter of Sean Cassidy, the mutant otherwise known as Banshee. She inherited sonic acoustic powers similar to her father's, with which she could fly, shield herself, and attack. She can use her voice like sonar to look for things or people. When Sean left for an undercover mission, he didn't know that his wife, Maeve, was pregnant with Teresa. Before he could come back, Maeve died in an IRA bombing, and her uncle, Tom Cassidy, brought her up on his own. He hid the truth from her and Sean and manipulated her into working in his criminal endeavors. Siryn found her place in the mutant world as a member of X-Force under Cable. During the fall of Krakoa, she was imprisoned by mutant hunters and brainwashed into working against mutants. A second-generation mutant, Siryn was created by Chris Claremont and Steve Leialoha in 1981 for the 37th issue of Spider-Woman. Shauna Cain has played this loud redhead in the movies. Cecilia Reyes. Dr. Cecilia Reyes was just 6 years old when she witnessed the senseless murder of her father, Alejandro. Despite such tragedy, she aimed to become a trauma surgeon and studied hard. Right after med school, she realized she was a mutant when she discovered a psyoplasmic biofield around her that could be extended to around 6 inches from her body. As with all mutants, Xavier approached her, but Reyes wasn't interested. She changed her mind after she was incarcerated in the mutant concentration camp Neverland. She doesn't like fighting alongside mutants, but she does so reluctantly. As a good doctor, her interests lie in treating and healing people. When Krakoa was set up, Reyes got the chance to completely immerse herself in the medical field, studying mutants and becoming an expert in mutant biology. The 65th issue of the second volume of X-Men is where we first saw Cecilia Reyes, created by Carlos Pacheco and Scott Lobdell. Dust! Suraya Kadir was kidnapped as a child and sold into slavery. Wolverine and Phantom X rescued her a few years later and sent her to the X Corporation base in Mumbai after she discovered that her mutant power was to turn into sand whenever she wanted. She took on the codename Dust, as that was the first words she said to the X-Men when she first met them. She enrolled in the Xavier Institute, where she learned to face not just anti-mutant rhetoric, but also Islamophobic bigotry. Her resilience and brilliance are on clear display when she battles villains like Predator X, Sentinels, and Exodus. After she finished her education, she returned to her home country to protect the mutants there. Almost never seen without a niqab, Suraya Kadir was created in 2002 for the 133rd issue of the New X-Men by Ethan Van Sciver and Grant Morrison. Spiral! Stuntwoman Ricochet Rita's life took a drastic turn when she ran into Longshot, an otherworldly being from Mojo World. He told her about the tyrant Mojo ruling his homeworld, and she left with him to fight Mojo, but Rita was no match for the evil tyrant. Mojo converted her into the 6-armed sorceress Spiral and brainwashed her into serving him. Mojo also programmed her to hate Longshot, and as Longshot was friends with the X-Men, he began to hate them too. Mojo trapped her in a paradoxical time loop where she would start the chain of events that led to her becoming Spiral. When Mojo got tired of her, she banished her to Earth where her powers were diminished. Spiral became a drug dealer and developed a strong bond with Ginny, a mutant orphan. Through her, she was intercepted by X-Force and she began to work alongside her former enemies. After Mojo was dethroned, she returned to Mojo World to start her own show, Spiral's Showcase. Ann Nocenti and Arthur Adams created Spiral in 1985, and she first appeared in the first issue of Longshot. Lady Deathstrike. Last, but not least in any way, we have Lady Deathstrike, or Yuriko Oyama. Yuriko was the daughter of Lord Darkwind, a Japanese kingpin who invented a method to coat bones with adamantium. He was very abusive, and Oyama helped Daredevil take him down, but she soon became obsessed with carrying on his legacy and held a grudge against Wolverine, as he was created by stealing her father's process. She too wanted to be as lethal as Wolverine, so she made a deal with Spiral and sacrificed her humanity to become Deathstrike. Her hatred of Wolverine pushed her to form alliances with villains like Donald Pierce and Reverend William Stryker. The Weapon X Project, an organization that intended to abduct augmented subjects and train them as weapons, targeted Lady Deathstrike and imprisoned her. A group of other victims rescued her, and they banded together as Weapon X, claiming the name for themselves. They disbanded after their leader Sabretooth left, but Deathstrike would go on to lead the Reavers, an anti-mutant group and one of the X-Men's deadliest adversaries. The world was introduced to Yuriko Oyama for the first time in the 197th issue of Daredevil in August 1983. Kelly Hu portrayed the mutant version of Lady Deathstrike in X2, X-Men United. Marvelous verdict! From superheroes to supervillains, these female X-Men characters are badasses all around. Who's your favorite from the list? Our vote is for Scarlet Witch. We just can't get enough of that pure chaos! Let us know your choice in the comments down below, or if we missed your favorite badass female X-Men character, because we really want to know that too. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up to let us know, and we'll be back soon with more awesome content. But until then, stay marvelous and stay badass. Thanks for watching. See you next time.